Welcome back. President Trump hashing out his 2018 agenda over the weekend at Camp David with Republican leaders in the House and Senate, top White House aides, and select cabinet members. Our next guest was there. California Congressman, House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy joins me right now. Congressman, it's good to see you again. Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me back.
What do you feel you accomplished this weekend?
Well, I felt it was a very productive meeting of all the different topics we talked upon. But what we started with, how do we build on how we finished in 2017 and make 2018 even better? And take one moment and think about what happened in 2017. The reforming of the VA. We've got the Dow Jones at new records. But most importantly, look at the tax package that we passed. These tax cuts. Now more than 1 million Americans got a bonus because of those tax cuts. And you know how cold it is out and our energy bills are going to go up. But I look today, Baltimore Gas and Electric is going to lower their rates. They're passing on $82 million they got in that tax cut to lower their rates for all their customers. So not only your bills are going down, but starting next month, you're going to get more in your paychecks. That is a great way to end and build upon. You got reg reform. So now we're looking at infrastructure, rebuilding America, the military. We've gotten cut so far under the Obama administration, as you saw from your earlier guest. We need to rebuild our military to make sure we're strong and make the world safe. We're looking at the opioid epidemic around, how to deal with that. We've got unemployment at a 17-year low. The last time the Bills were in the playoffs were 17 years ago, and now we got unemployment that low. So we've got to find ways to get people in job training back into the workforce. We're looking at areas to do that as well. So we've got a big agenda in 2018.
But before all of that, you've got a big deadline coming up later this month, January 19th. Can you walk us through what's most important in terms of the appropriations that you're about to make?
Well, the real difficulty is how we had on some of the votes at the very end. You had the minority leader, Nancy Pelosi, whipping her members to vote against funding of government just for 2 weeks. And it's all over DACA. Now, DACA doesn't have to be dealt with till March, but I'll be in that Tuesday bipartisan meeting with the president. We want to solve this problem, but most importantly, we don't want to have to deal with this problem in the future. So you've got to have border security. You've got to deal with chain migration, and it's a place that everybody could find common ground and solve. We need a budget agreement so we can fund the military. And in funding that military, we have to rebuild it. And that's really how we started our second day. We had Mike Pompeo from the CIA. We had Secretary of State in there. Then we had Secretary of Defense, General Mattis, laying out the threats around the world and what they need to make sure the world stays safe. And America, most importantly, stays safe. And that is why we're working on getting that budget agreement to be able to plus up the military. But the Democrats are holding that hostage. And I think that's a wrong, we should not play with the military at any time with politics.
Yeah, so I want to get back to that Tuesday meeting in a moment on immigration. But first, in terms of the military, you just heard General Jack Keane talk about the lack of readiness. Can you categorically say that those budget caps will be lifted in terms of spending on the military come January 19th?
Well, yes, because that's what we've been fighting for. And that's what we've been negotiating. That's actually what we passed in the House, in the NDAA, and got the president to sign. Now we have to appropriate what we actually voted for. And if the Democrats would not hold hostage, they've, Nancy Pelosi actually skipped the meeting to go down to the White House, so that was delayed. But now we're back at the table, and I'm very hopeful that we get that done this week.
Well, if they just want to obstruct and not see things move forward, are you willing to go to the mat for this and actually allow the government to shut down if you keep seeing this pushback from those like Nancy Pelosi?
Look, the only people that are trying to shut down the government is Nancy Pelosi. I watched on the other side of the chamber as she whipped members. Once we got to the vote with enough Republicans at 218, I watched them put their thumb up to release those few Democrats who wanted to vote for it. She's pressuring them, trying to get into a shutdown to blame President Trump, when President Trump is the individual working to build the military and find a solution to our border and to all those that dealing with DACA.
So are you expecting them to agree to the $18 billion to build the president's, what he keeps saying, that he wants, the wall?
Look, if we don't deal with the security and with chain migration, we will be back before us on a DACA issue in And that's the wrong thing for America to do. We need to maintain the rule of law. deal with those individuals that were brought here no fault of their own, but actually have a border security so it does not happen again. You've watched what happened in New York just last month. That's why chain migration is so important, to be able to reform that. And these are things that Democrats have voted for in the past. So I don't know why you would want to hold that up. You'd make America safer. We'd be able to build our military and grow our economy.
So in terms of looking at 2018, once you get past the January 19th deadline, what would be your priority beyond that? I mean, you're looking at, obviously, the midterms come November. So does that change things in terms of what the priority is?
No, it doesn't change. Look, after passing tax reform, that was the beginning of America's comeback. Now, in 2018, we want to complete America's comeback. So what we're looking at, infrastructure. We want to be able to modernize. We have so many bridges falling apart and others. Building in there. You got an opioid epidemic that's going across this country, to be able to deal with that as well. There's so many issues out in front of us. The workforce. Getting more people back into the workforce only creates the economy stronger. But you have unemployment at some of the lowest levels we ever had in 17 years. And some, for African Americans, the lowest it's ever been. So we're going to have to be able to get a stronger workforce, a better trained, as you've got these new investments after the tax bill passed. You've got more companies coming back to America. This is on an upswing, and we want to make sure we're building the right structure to get it all done correctly.
How long before you have a feeling of exactly the impact of the tax package? We're about to get fourth quarter earnings from the corporate sector in a couple of weeks. I'm wondering if you think you'll see an even better economic backdrop later in the year going into November. I mean, you've got estimates out there now for 4% growth for 2018.
You got the Fed saying 4%. You know, under President Obama, you never even had 3%. I mean, his highest year was lower than the worst year under Bill Clinton. So we've had a new change, and a lot of that gives credit to President Trump changing the regulatory reform inside America. That saved more than almost $4 billion from passing those CRAs and signing them. And now we're seeing the growth from the tax. I think you're going to continue to see this grow throughout the rest of the year and even beyond.
Congressman, we'll be watching. Good to see you, sir. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
Congressman Kevin McCarthy.